Rule 3. We use semicolons between items in a series containing internal punctuation. So semicolons are occasionally used like they're fancy commas, okay? We use semicolons to divide the items of a list if the items are long or contain internal punctuation. The semicolons help readers keep track of the divisions between the items in the list. So normally when we have a list, we would use a comma. For example, I went shopping and I bought bread, comma, cheese, comma, and coffee. Okay? We would use commas to separate the items in the list. So if we look at this first example here, I traveled to Spain, Italy, and France last year. Here we put commas to separate each country, Spain, Italy, and France. Now, what if I wanted to list the cities and the countries? This would be incorrect. I traveled to Madrid, comma, Spain, comma, Rome, comma, Italy, comma, and Paris, comma, France last year. This would be incorrect because say someone didn't know that Paris was in France or Rome was in Italy. This would almost sound like you were saying you went to 6 different places. I traveled to Madrid and Spain and Rome and Italy and Paris and France. And that doesn't make sense because Madrid is in Spain. That's just one place, Madrid, Spain, Rome, Italy. Because there's already punctuation in this list, we have to use a semicolon to separate these into groups. So this is what would be correct. I traveled to Madrid, comma, Spain. Then we'd put a semicolon because that would separate this into one little group. I traveled to Madrid, Spain, semicolon, Rome, comma, Italy, semicolon, and Paris, France last year. And that makes it easy for the reader to understand this is 3 places, Madrid, Spain, Rome, Italy, and Paris, France. So we would only put the semicolons after the first 2 or more if the list was 4 or 5. This is only a list of 3, so we only have to put it after the first 2 before the conjunction, okay? Let's look at some more examples. So this first one, we just did this example, so let's look at this second example. The company invited Steve, Carl, and Ryan to the conference. This would be correct because this is clearly 3 different people, Steve, Carl, and Ryan. But what if we had a more complicated list that already had punctuation, it already had commas, and we wanted to give more information about the people in the list? The company invited Steve, the accountant, Carl, the office manager, and Ryan, the bookkeeper, to the conference. If we only use commas, again, it sounds like we're inviting 5 or 6 different people. The company invited Steve and the accountant and Carl and the office manager and Ryan and the bookkeeper to the conference. But we don't want to do that. We want it to be clear that Steve is the accountant, that Carl is the office manager, that this is only 3 different people. So we have to use semicolons. The company invited Steve, the accountant. This semicolon makes it clear that Steve is the name of the accountant that's being invited. He is the accountant. This is one person. Carl, the office manager, semicolon. Again, that makes it clear that Carl is the office manager. And Ryan, comma, the bookkeeper, to the conference. Okay? And that, again, the semicolons make it clear that this is 1, 2, 3 different people that are being invited to the conference, not 5 or 6 different people. Okay, so now